My opinion on breaking a family curse, that is a toughie. And I feel like as the black sheep of the family, and you may be the black sheep of your family, um, it's not like we're trying to break family curses. I feel like it just comes our way, like as if you're like the chosen one to do this. And I'm going to explain my story of what I mean by that. And hopefully it resonates with you and helps you along your journey as well. So, with my journey on breaking family curses, it gets a little bit spiritual. And I don't know if you happen to be a spiritual type, or if you're into religion, or if you're an atheist. It's whatever it is that you're into. I'm just explaining my story, so you don't have to believe it or not. But there's always a message in each story. So I'm gonna get right into it. So my nana on my mother's side, her family has a bit of a not a bit, a whole lot of a dark past. And this past week I had went to a family event, and she came up to me and she heard through the grapevine that I've been writing books. And I was like, yeah, I am writing books. And she asked me how come I didn't tell her about it, or how come I didn't give her a copy or anything of the sorts. And it's not like I didn't want to tell certain people in my family. It's just that I happen to write a lot of dark stuff in my book. That's just how I write. Ever since I was little, I write a lot of dark poetry. That is my thing. And on top of that, I have some sex scenes in my book. So I didn't want to give that to my Nana and all that. I don't know. I'm still, even though I'm grown, it's still like, I don't know, I'm still a kid about it. I don't want to show certain family members what I wrote. But anyway, so I was telling her how I like to write things with messages that go along the lines of fighting against good and evil. And when I was telling her all this, like her face just started coming more alive a bit. Now, my grandmother, she is up there. She's in her 80s, and she's been through a lot, like a lot, to the point where her mother had told her that she needs to go seek help, needs to go seek therapy or something. Everyone's told her that she needs to go seek help, and she's turned down every single suggestion. So she kept a lot of her demons. So when I was telling her this, her face was, getting pretty lit up. And she was telling me how that's life, always fighting against good and evil. And she started telling me certain things that happen in the family, how our family has a very dark past, which I know of, but I never bothered to ask her any questions. I never bothered to bring that up, only because of the stories that I've heard of her and all her demons. Like, I was just afraid to bring anything up. So, as she was telling me, she was saying that she always wanted to write a book about what she's been through in the family story. And me, out of nowhere, I just volunteered to write this book for her. And it's like, it's not even like it was a thought in my head. It just automatically just came out of my mouth. Like, I volunteer, like, I'll write this book for you, no problem. Um, and after we was finished with the conversation, I was kind of like, oh shit, because as I'm going to help her write this book, a lot of her demons are going to come out. I'm afraid what's going to happen. I don't know. I'm a little nervous, but I feel like it's not about me, it's about her and what she needs to get out. And she is up there in age. And this is the part where I'm going to get a little bit deep on this. So, when it comes to me and my spirituality, I have a lot of experiences. And one of them is dreams. I'm always dreaming of something. It usually has a message. Sometimes it's a lucid dream. Sometimes I get visits from ancestors. Um, it's a long story. So a few weeks back, I was having back-to-back dreams about my nana, and it wasn't the best type of dreams. And I'll explain one dream. It's a little bit morbid. It's a little bit. I'll make it short and sweet. So, and this is pertaining to why I think it just came out of me to just want to write this book. So a few weeks back, I was having dreams back to back about my nana, and one of the dreams I had, to make it short and sweet, I was at. No, I'm not gonna tell that dream. So there was one dream I had where she passed away, and after she passed, like normal, we was all grieving and stuff like that. But somehow, some way, she ended up getting out of her grave, and she. It's gonna sound a little bit funny, but she put on some heels. She like fixed her hair, and I don't know how she ended up at my house, but she did. And we was all like, "What are you doing out of your grave?" Now, mind you, when you pass and you're buried, you start decaying and stuff, right? So she did not look the same when she was alive in my dream. Her body and everything was decaying. She looked like a zombie. But yet she was walking around. And it was, I don't know, dreams are weird. And I was just like, what are you doing out of your grave? And it was like she wasn't ready to go. She still had a lot to fulfill. So, to make that short and sweet, because there was a lot that went into my dream that night, but I ended up waking up out of my sleep. And I was like, what's that about? That past week, I was just dreaming about graveyards, my nana, everything, and her not ready to go. And when she was telling me the story at the event a few days ago about her life and everything, and since that she's never gotten the help, I feel like me doing this for her will help her transition properly when it's that time for her to go. And I feel like she does need the healing, and I think that's why I was having dreams back to back a few weeks ago. So it was so ironic as I was telling her about my books and how her face lit up and how she was telling me what she went through. I was just like, this must be why I was having these dreams. Even though we all have a lot of dreams and whatnot, there's a difference between like dreaming and then dreaming and having messages, dreaming and having visits, dreaming about something and then it happens the following day, like certain reasons why you've had that dream, like a message coming to you. Long story, but I feel like the dreams that I had a few weeks back was definitely a message that I needed to listen to. And that's another reason why I was just like, okay, let me write this book. And I feel like if I don't do this for her, and whenever she goes, it's going to haunt me for the rest of my days, and I'm going to regret not doing this for her. About that side of the family and our dark past, I'm not going to say too much in this video. I'll make a separate video for it. But the reason why I say that her side of the family has a very dark past, because, oh boy, so I don't know if he's like great, I don't know how many greats, but I mean, he's not too far back, but I have a great grandfather on that side of the family who was a very wealthy plantation owner in Georgia. And his daughter, which is my great grandmother or whatever. Well, my Nana's grandmother. So she was described as like a Irish gypsy, and I've heard that even she had a lot of dreams and stuff like that, and she was very free spirited. And I guess she was such a rebel because she was dating my great great grandfather, who is Native American. And we don't know what tribe he's from, but I have a picture of him. And when I Googled the location of where they all lived in Georgia, and I started seeing some of the tribes in that area, I have a feeling what tribe he's probably from, because the genes, the features is very strong. Like they all look alike. So I guess by her dating him, her father and her family did not like that, because she ended up fleeing with her man to Jersey. And I'm gonna make this a whole separate video, but there's a lot that goes on with that. And she ended up being a part of her father's murder. So I don't know what, I know a little bit, but I'll definitely find out more when I speak to my grandmother. Um, but obviously, there's some dark stuff that goes in with that, with him being a plantation owner, his daughter killing him, and there's a lot that goes on with it. Like I have old newspapers and articles, and the people that was involved with this murder, and it's a lot. Somebody got hung. It's a lot that goes on with that. And then my Nana's father, who happened to be part indigenous American and white, so basically like biracial, he went through a lot growing up, and he became a monster. And it's just like his demons um became her demons, and a lot that she went through. And it's just like a whole, I wouldn't say like a family curse, but in a way it kind of feels like it, going way back to my great great grandfather being a wealthy plantation owner. And his wealth was passed, he got his wealth through like his father and so far, and his grandfather, whatever. So this, they was in this plantation business for like quite some time. But I'm going to explain that in another video. As far as them owning slaves, I have no idea. I looked into it. I tried to see if there's some documents of them owning slaves, but I'm not sure. Um, yeah, so there's a lot that goes on with that. And from my grandmother having all these demons and everything that she went through, it obviously got passed down to her kids. So I grew up with my mother kind of being, um, my mom's not mentally ill or anything, but my mom has her own demons as well. So I kind of went through it. And I always wondered why the family was so freaking crazy. But now I know why. And I feel like all this being put on me with these dreams, and my grandmother wanting to bring everything to light and express herself and heal, and how that's going to be put on me. Ooh, as the black sheep of the family, I feel like it is important for us to fulfill certain purposes, because it's given to us for a reason. And for me not to help her with this, like I said, I feel like it will haunt me for the rest of my days. Another story I'm going to explain really quick of why I feel like it's important as the black sheep of the family to break family curses, even if it's just solely for yourself. I'm going to explain this one story that happened on my father's side of the family, and I'll try to make it as short as possible. So, for those who watch my videos, y'all know that I am a part of a indigenous American tribe in North Carolina, and that is the Tuscarora tribe down in the Cape Fear region. And when I started doing research on my family history and all that, it wasn't my intent to explore my father's side of the family too much, because my father's side of the family is kind of, it's split up in a way. And my father's mother, she was disowned by her family because they didn't like my grandfather, the one she was dating. And my grandfather, he was a bit like, abusive and crazy. And I just didn't know why my family was like that. So I didn't even bother to want to even learn about my father's side of the family too much. Even though I was told on my father's side that we're Indian, it didn't really occur to me to go dig too deep on that side. My intent when I first started doing my family research, I wanted to know more about my mother's side of the family, her Indian side of the family, and like the Lenape side and all that. And plus, since I live in New York, everything's right here. A lot of family history is right here. So I figured that would be easy to like dive into. But for some reason along this journey, my focus kept going towards my father's side of the family, and like certain things that would pop up that I would find on like ancestry.com and stuff like that. And certain ancestors that I was finding, I don't know, for some reason my focus kept going there. And there was this one particular great great grandmother that I just kept looking at. And there was something drawing me to want to research her. I don't know why, but now I feel like I do. So I started to learn from my dad that my grandfather grew up on a farm in North Carolina, and I wanted to find where this farm was located and stuff like that. This was like a few years ago, so I still remember a lot, but some things are kind of like getting a little bit blurry. So yeah, I ended up going out to North Carolina, looking through archives, trying to find this farm, and I was getting more intrigued by that side of the family. And I wanted to know more about the Indian part of the family. And this is the part where it gets kind of spiritual. So I remember during this time, I was speaking to the ancestors, and I was saying, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why I'm getting led down this path. If I could get a sign, any messages, something, that would be great. So I would research about that area, and when I was Googling certain things, I learned that the tribe that was located in this part of North Carolina was Tuscarora. And I was like, that's strange, because my aunt had told me that we were Cherokee. And when I was tracing my family back on this side of the family, they all like remained in the southern part of North Carolina. They never like migrated anywhere. So I'm like, okay, where does the Cherokee come in? I remember I went to sleep. I figured that I was gonna have a dream that night, but I didn't have any dreams. The same day that I was speaking to the ancestors, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I need a sign. And since I usually have dreams, I figured I was gonna get a dream that night, but I didn't. And that was really rare for me to sleep and have no dreams. But when I woke up that day, the next day, a old children's song was playing in my head, and I've asked, I feel like no one remembers this song because I've asked around about the song and no one remembers this children's song and I haven't heard it in a long time. But basically the lyrics goes along the lines of a bear jumping over the mountain to get to the other side and it repeats over and over and over again. So I couldn't get that song out of my head for like a good like hour or so. And when I finally got out of when that song finally like got out of my head, I was just like, what was that about? And throughout the day, I just kept thinking about bears. And I was like, I don't know why, but I feel like I need to research Tuscarora, bears, North Carolina. I don't know. And when I looked it up, I found that in that area was a bear clan. And I'm like, okay, that's strange. And the tribe that I'm a part of now, I did ask the chief, does he know anything about a bear clan? And he said, yeah, like this is the bear clan. And all up and down the Cape Fear region is the bear clan. So I was like, okay. So a lot of signs, everything was getting put together. And fast forward, when now that I discovered everything that I am on my father's side and the ancestors, it was almost resolved, but there was one little issue, and this is where it kind of gets a little bit spiritual again. So this might sound weird, but for a long time growing up, um, I always felt like when I die, I know how I'm going to die. Um, I'm going to something with my head, like I'm going to get into like a bad accident or something. um I'm going to bang my head really hard and that's how I'm going to go. And I mean that's weird to say to yourself, but I was so for sure that that's how I was going to go. And um I don't know why, but I always felt that way. And not until when I was putting everything together and I was finding documents of the farm, and of my great great grandmother, I found a documentation of her death certificate and how she passed. And turns out, since she was the oldest of her siblings, her father passed the farm down to her. And on the day that she passed, she was working on the farm and she fell off a ladder and hit her head really hard on the floor. And she died 2 hours later in the hospital. And then from there, her son, which is like my great grandfather, the farm was passed down to him, but he didn't want it. So he gave it to his sister. And he took my grandfather and his wife and his daughter and moved to New York, and the rest was history. And when I saw how she passed, when I read how she passed, I like froze. And for some reason, the thought of me knowing how I'm going to die, which is something with a bad accident that has to do with my head, it just like cleared up. And I used to like feel really sensitive all the time, at the like top of my head. But now all of a sudden, I don't feel anything. And I think it was due to me discovering what happened to my grandmother and, well, my great great grandmother and how she passed. And I think through that, it kind of healed like a family curse because she died out of nowhere. And with my intuition, I feel like she was very like very all about family and the family business and keeping everyone together. And by her just passing away, just out of nowhere, everything just like split apart. And I feel like my intuition was telling me at the time that she just wanted me to know that it was never supposed to be like this. Um, my grandfather whatever happened to him, he like it was not supposed to he was not supposed to be this abusive person. He wasn't raised like that. Um it's something along those lines, and ever since then I feel like on a personal level, just for my confirmation that that side of the family is being healed. Back to wanting to help my grandmother, though, I'm definitely going to help her with that. Even though I'm scared, I just gotta put my feelings and ego to the side because it's not about me. It's about helping her and helping her heal. And in return, this will heal the family entirely and break whatever curse that's going on. Um, as the black sheep of the family, especially if you're like the black sheep of the family, sometimes you may wonder like why me? Like why I gotta go through this? Why the burden gotta be put on me? Because I feel like that sometimes. And you know, I start to think why not me? Like maybe it's because we can handle these type of things. Um, Maybe because we're more open to it. I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't think it's a bad thing when things get pushed our way. And yeah, but I hope this helped. I hope my story helped, especially if you're going through whatever you're going through with your family. It's not always easy being a black sheep, but it's definitely rewarding at the end.